start. Yesterday we had started the discussion on cross section, okay, and what I had told you that this is the probability of interaction and total number of particles must be conserved, okay. Now the important concept in this is the differential scattering cross section and the total scattering cross section. Differential scattering cross section and total scattering cross section. Okay. Now, differential scattering cross section we represented by d sigma by d omega, where what is this d sigma by d omega? This is the number of particles scattered into an element of solid angle d omega in the direction theta phi, where theta is the zenith angle and phi is the azimuthal angle, per unit time per unit incident flux. Number of particles is scattered in element of solid angle d omega in the direction theta phi per unit time per unit incident flux. Suppose I am talking about incident particles which are far away from the scattering center. Say this is the scattering center. Say this is the place where you have placed the target. Now, whether you have got an experiment in condensed matter physics or atomic physics, molecular physics, nuclear physics, they are macroscopic system, and that means their sizes are less than 10 power minus 6 meters or something like that. Therefore, if say this region is around 10 power minus 6 meters, then if you are say 1 meter away or 2 meters away from the scattering center, then for all practical purposes you are at infinite distance where there is no presence of potential, or any potential or any modulation created by this target particle is not going to influence the nature of incident particles. Now, if we say that the particles are coming along the z direction and there is no potential, then that means for all practical purposes we can represent the wave function by a plane wave given by e to the power I kz. Okay. Now what happens when a scattering center is present, a scattering may happen and this particle may move in any direction. That means from here you can have a spherically outgoing wave. And then what differential cross section tells you? It tells you that you are going to measure number of particles scattered in this angular bin of d omega, number of particles scattered in this angular bin d omega. Okay, and if you are going to measure this, you call such measurements as the measurements of differential cross section. The other important point is these are spherically outgoing waves. Therefore, we know that from BSc that spherically outgoing waves are represented by wave function e to the power ikr. And as we move away and away from the scattering center, the intensity of the scattered wave will keep on decreasing. Suppose here I am measuring 5 scattered particles. If we move some farther away, the number of scattered particles will be less, and so on. And that means what they do, they follow inverse square law. Therefore, at the level of the wave function, we have 1 over r along with e to the power ikr, and at the level of intensity, we have 1 over r square. Therefore, the important point is this scattered wave follow inverse square law. These are the spherically outgoing waves. And then we defined the differential scattering cross section d sigma by d omega as 1 over the incident flux, because we define it as number of particles scattered into an element of solid angle d omega per unit time per unit incident flux. This is my incident flux, and number of particles scattered per unit solid angle bin. Okay, this will be the differential scattering cross section. If there is any question, you may ask.
Sir, please can you repeat? I cannot understand the whole phenomenon.
See, what I am telling you, that when we are talking about scattering, okay, and suppose I don't have any target particle, that means what was the source of the what this target particle was doing? This target particle was providing a potential, and the incident particle was feeling the presence of potential, and that is why it was modulating its path, and we were saying that scattering has taken place. Okay, for example, if I talk about electron proton scattering, and if electron is coming along this direction, if there is nothing placed before it, then all the time electron will move along the z direction, and the incident wave will be represented by e to the power ikz. Do you understand this point?
Yes, sir.
Now I am placing a target particle. This target particle is a proton, this target particle is a nucleus. Now this nucleus is a positively charged particle, and that means this nucleus is providing us a Coulombic potential, which would imply that this electron is going to, as it will move closer towards this target, this electron will feel the presence of the potential and it will modulate its path. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, when it is modulating its path, when it is changing its path, when it is not moving in the straight, in the forward direction, then what we say in physics? That collision is taking place, scattering is taking place. That one is feeling the presence of the potential. It is never a collision between two cars. It is never between collision between two say balls. In physics, if the incident wave modulates its path because there exists some potential in its forward direction, then we scattering has taken place. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now you see, suppose I have got, and this we have discussed yesterday so many times, I have got thousands of particles coming per unit area, per unit time. Thousands of particles coming per unit area, per unit time. Had there not been any scattering center, what would I expect at this point?
Same incident
That
flux.
all the 1,000 particles will reach to this point. And that means here also there will be plane waves. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
Now, since there is a scattering center, since there is a target particle, therefore among these 1,000 particles, majority of them will be able to reach to the other side, but some of them will get scattered because of the presence of the scattering center or because of the presence of the potential. Say 990 particles you are measuring here, then that means you have lost 10 particles. Where those 10 particles have gone? Those 10 particles have got scattered. Okay? Where they have got scattered, the answer to that is we don't know. Then what I will tell you? I will tell you that, okay, you put a detector at this place, say it is making a solid angle d omega with the scattering center, and then measure how many particles are coming to this detector. Is it clear?
Yes, yes, sir.
Now, if the scattering is spherically symmetric means same in all the directions. Spherically symmetric means that same in all directions. There is no directly theta phi dependence. That means if I put it here of unit magnitude, then if I whatever particle I have measured, if I multiply it by 4 pi, because d omega is d cosine theta times d phi, and d cosine theta goes from -1 to +1, and d phi goes from 0 to 2 pi, this will give us 4 pi. Therefore, then I will say that in this 1 unit, if your detector is able to measure in 1 unit, then multiply it by 4 pi, you will get the total number of scattered particles. Add those scattered particles to this unscattered particles, you will get this total number of incident particles. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Should I
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now what I'm telling you, that this is d sigma by d omega. This is 1 by the incident. Yesterday we have seen that if I increase this to 2000 or 5000 or 10,000, the chances of scattering will increase, because we are increasing the number of incident particles per unit area per unit time. The other point which I had told you, that if I increase the duration of the experiment, instead of 5 minutes, if I will do it for 1 hour, then if in 5 minutes I am typically getting 5 events, then in 1 hour I will get 60 events. Okay, typically. Therefore, by increasing the time, I can increase the number of events if the experiment is continuously going on, or by increasing the incident flux, we can increase the number of scattering events. Therefore, the differential scattering cross section is d sigma by d omega is equal to number of scattered particles per units solid angle beam divided by the number of incident particles. And then what is the total scattering cross section? Total scattering cross section is the guy when we integrate over all the angles such that I have, and so on, such that I have measured all the particles which have got scattered in this region, and that will give me the total scattering cross section. D sigma by d omega, the differential scattering cross section integrated over the complete angular bin gives the total scattering cross section. Is it clear?
Ji, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Huh.
So when scattering is uniform for all, then it does it mean that all the particles have been scattered?
No, not at all. Yesterday, let me just go to next slide. It can never happen. See, yesterday I have told you one cross section is 10 power minus 24, another cross section is 10 power minus 30, another cross section for weak interaction is 10 power minus 40. Okay, this was a strong interaction cross section, this was electromagnetic interaction cross section, this was weak interaction cross section. The incident particle I told you is 1 million particles coming per unit area per unit time. 1 million particle coming per unit area per unit time, incident on a target which has, say, 10 power 15 particles. Then 10 power 6 into 10 power 15 into 10 power minus 24, or even if I make it 10 power, say, 23, okay.
Yes, sir.
So the important point is, in physics, always this guy is a multiplicative factor, and therefore what actually the events we about yesterday is, event is described as, number one, it is cross section, convolution of, you have what type of detector you have, then the flux of the incident particles and the time of exposure. The event will be the convolution of all these four factors. Why flux is important? Because as we increase the flux, number of events will increase. Where this is going to play a role, if it is a weak interaction process, this number is quite low. Therefore, we will expect a very less number of events. And suppose if I am able to measure a single event, if I am measured to have a single event among say 10 to the power 20 particles coming on a target where there is only one particle sitting here, or 10 to the power 20 particles are, instead of that, if I say that 10 to the power 20 particles are sitting over here, then what does this 10 to the power minus 40 means? 10 to the power 40 means that 10 to the power minus 40 means that ten to the power 20 incident flux, 10 to the power 20 the target particle, this is incident flux, time is say 1 second, then what is cross section? 10 to the power minus 40. What does this mean? This is 1. Physically, what does this imply? That among 10 to the power 20 particles which are coming in such a dense target, in a 1 centimeter square I have placed this much amount of target, only one is able to get scattered if the interaction is taking place via weak interaction. But instead of that, if I have got a proton beam and we are considering what? A strong interaction process, then the number of events will become how much?
10 to the power 16.
16.
10 power 16, yes. That means among 10 power 20 particles, 10 power 16 particles have got scattered. Are you getting me?
So then detector should get more particles in the original direction of the particles, and in other direction it would get less particles. And you were saying the scattering is same all around the target particle. That's my question.
Repeat your question.
Sir, then the detector should detect a large number of particles in the original direction of the particles, and in other directions it would get very, very less particles. It means scattering wouldn't be the same. Just my question.
Now, please answer to this question. 10 power 5 minus 10 power 3 is how much?
Triple 900.
99000. Is it not? Hmm? Are you convinced or
Yes,
not?
sir.
Yes.
हाँ, अब आप बताओ, जब यहाँ पे 1000 पार्टिकल्स स्कैटर्ड हो रहे हैं तो कितने नहीं स्कैटर्ड हो रहे हैं?
99,000.
99,000 नहीं हो रहे हैं, तो कौन बड़ा नंबर है मेरे भाई?
99,000, sir.
है ना? तो देखो यहाँ पे, that will be clear that although it seems that, you know, if even if you take, say, put so many zeros, and then this will be still a very big number, which will be the unscattered particles. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
Therefore, the number of scattered particles will be much smaller than number of unscattered particles. Therefore, the total outgoing wave will consist of a scattered wave plus the unscattered wave, which still is a plane wave. Is it clear? Or is there any confusion?
Detecting the
What? Repeat it. It was not clear. What was the question?
sir, detector is detector only detecting scattered particles or all the particles?
No, only scattered particles. It won't detect unscattered particles.
Okay, so that's was my confusion. Okay.
It won't detect. Otherwise, what will be the physical meaning of scattering cross section? Scattering cross section will tell you the probability of interaction of incident particle with the target particle. If it is unscattered, then why it will contribute to the probability?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear? Now you see what is actually in real life happening, that you have incident particle, you have target particle. That means it is basically two body interaction. There is an incident particle and there is a target particle. Okay, and what incident particle is feeling? Incident particle is feeling a potential created by the target particle, or target particle is feeling the potential created by the, because electron is also a charged particle, it has also got a Coulombic potential. Therefore, electron will also feel the presence of proton will also feel the presence of Coulombic potential of electron, as electron is feeling the Coulombic potential of proton. That means these two are moving in a common potential. There is a common potential created by electron and proton together. And then these are the two particles, one in the incident particle and another is target particle. And that means if we go to non-relativistic quantum mechanics, then the Schrodinger equation that we write is minus h square by twice m delta 1 square minus h square by twice m2 delta 2 square plus v r1 r2 psi r1 r2 is et psi r1, where what is v? V is basically representing the potential, common potential created by the two particles. Then what we generally do, and we have done it in the such two body uh, problems, we reduce to a single body problem by introducing a reduced mass and a center of mass which we call it as m1 plus m2, and the center of mass coordinate as m1 r1 plus m2 r2 by m1 plus m2. Therefore, the Schrodinger equation that we get is minus h square by twice mu del E square psi r plus Vr psi r is equal to E psi r. While the other equation that we get with the center of mass coordinate, we say that since there is no potential associated with that, that will behave like a free particle wave function, and that is not going to play any role because we are going to talk about a scattering phenomenon. Is it clear? Now the important point which is to be noticed, that any two-body problem in non-relativistic quantum mechanics can be reduced to one-body problem, and if there is a one-body problem, then that can be exactly solved using the differential equation methods. Therefore, all these scattering problems that we have discussed ultimately dies down to the solution of this expression. Now, the important point was, when we were at, this was my scattering center, this was my projectile. What I have told you, that if you are away from the scattering center, say at a distance of 2 meters, 5 meters, then you are almost at an infinite distance. Similarly, if you are placing a detector somewhere here, say at a distance of 1 meter, then this size is 10 power minus 6 meters. This is 1 meter. Therefore, for 10 power minus 6 meter, this 1 meter is an infinite distance. Is it not? And similarly, this is an infinite distance. Therefore, the particle is coming here, which are incident waves, and at this point of time, these particles are not feeling the presence of potential created by this scattering center. And that is why I am telling you that these particles are coming along the z direction, and if they are not feeling any potential, then that means I can write this expression as minus h square by twice mu d square psi by dz square is equal to E psi. Tell me whether I am correct or not.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that if we are far away from the scattering center, then these are the plane waves, and this means that there is no potential. And when there is no potential, that means this is the wave function that we have. And generally what we do, we define here as k incident square as 2 mu e by h cross square, which will give us a second order differential equation, d squared psi incident upon dz square plus k incident square psi incident, this is equal to 0. And this would imply my incident wave function is nothing but a plane wave. Okay, this is my incident wave function, a e to the power ikz. Now this was the incident wave function. This is my scattering center, and I have placed a detector here. This is making a solid angle d omega. This is distance is r. That means R is the distance of the detector from the scattering center. Then what will be this area from geometry? This area will be nothing but R square d omega. Therefore, the area, this area is R square d omega. This is the solid angle and this is the distance. See here, what I am telling you, that the distance between the detector and the scattering center is infinite, and therefore if I am assuming this R, then that means this is also R, because for infinity, whether I am measuring from the left or measuring from the right or measuring from the center, that is one and the same. Okay. Now if what I am telling you, that if the scattering is not spherically symmetric, then there will be angular dependence. Okay, and the amplitude of the scattered wave will depend upon this angle. And what is the important point? The important point is, here we are considering outgoing spherical wave. Okay, therefore the scattered wave will be represented by a f theta phi e to the power I k r by r. Why this 1 by r is coming? Because intensity is inversely proportional to the distance square, and that means the amplitude is proportional to 1 over r. We have to reconnect, okay, very soon. Amplitude is inversely proportional to 1 over r. Intensity is proportional to 1 over r square. This is typically a spherically outgoing wave. Why this factor? This factor is there to take into account angular dependence, and we call it by the name scattering amplitude. And we call by the name scattering amplitude. Okay, my incident wave is fine. This is a to the power I k incident z. What is the outgoing wave? Can anybody tell me? We have talked about scattered wave, we have talked about incident wave. What about the outgoing wave? What will be the outgoing wave?
So majority will be same as that of incident wave.
Then outgoing wave will consist of unscattered wave
plus scattered wave. Yes.
Scattered, that means this will be e to the power I k incident z plus f theta phi e to the power I k r by r. Is it not? This is the incident wave. All the particles, 900 particles which have not got scattered, will be represented by this wave, and the scattered particles will be represented by actually this wave, but we need intensity, therefore if R factor, and we need an angular dependence which we call scattering amplitude. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Therefore, we have incident wave, we have scattered wave, and we have total
Outgoing wave.
Now, let us go back to BSc final and talk about flux density or current density, which your teacher might have taught you. IH, this is given by IH cross by 2 mu psi del psi star minus psi star del psi. है ना? इस इक्वेशन को तो जानते हैं.
Yes, sir.
Okay, psi del psi star minus psi star del psi. This is either you call it by the name current density, flux density, particle density, whatever you call by this name. Now, in what will be incident? Mind it, our d sigma by d omega is 1 over j incident dn by d omega. Okay. Now, what is j incident? By symmetry, this will be IH cross by twice m psi incident delta psi incident star minus psi incident star delta psi incident. What will be j scattered? This will be IH cross by twice mu psi scattered delta psi scattered star minus psi scattered star delta psi scattered. So just I have used symmetry. For incident, I have put INC in the suffix. For scattered, I have put scattered as the suffix. Okay. Now, see, psi incident is e to power I k incident z. That means what will be psi star? A star e power minus I k incident z. Okay. Now, how these incident particles are moving? These are moving in the z direction only. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
Now, why they should move only in the z direction or x direction or y direction? This is because this is just a silly question. This is the scattering center, and if I will move my projectile along this direction or this direction or this direction, what is going to happen? Nothing. Scattering center is in in Delhi, and we are moving towards Lucknow. Nothing is going to happen. Okay. Therefore, we have to talk about. We have to take our beam along the direction of the target, and for infinite distance, this will be always a straight line. And when it is a straight line, either you take your axis to be along z direction or x direction or y direction, it will remain the same. That means I can replace this by dz. Okay. But in this case, what is psi scattered? Psi scattered has a form e to the power I k r by r. Although The angular dependence of this is contained in f theta phi, which is the scattering amplitude, and it is not going to change. Therefore, when we will talk about del here, we have to write this del in spherical polar coordinates, where there will be r dependence, delta by delta r, theta dependence, and phi dependence. But we will argue that psi scattered r has directly, we can say, has a form e to power I k r by r. Therefore, the theta phi part we may drop, and we can only work with r, and that means we have to put that del here with this psi scattered to obtain the following values. I am leaving it as a homework. Tell me after 2 days. एक मिनट, अरे जैन एक hello. Yes. Therefore, if you just evaluate it, your J incident will be, you will get it as A mod of A square H cross K incident, or just upon mu, and J scattered as mod of A square cross K scattered by R square F theta phi mod square. Now, what is dn by d omega? This is the number of particles scattered into a solid bin d omega. Okay, that means my dn by d omega is nothing but J scattered times R square, because what is J scattered? In other words, this is 1 by R square dn by d omega. See here, this is, as you will move far away from the scattering center, the number of events that you are going to register will decrease by a factor of 1 by R square. Therefore, equivalently, you can say that the number of particles which have got scattered into a solid angle d omega is nothing but J scattered times R square times d omega. This is the number of particles scattered into an element of solid angle d omega passing through, I am writing here, continue, passing through a surface element of area dA. This was the area dA. This was R square d omega. Therefore, what is this J incident? J incident basically is the definition of number of particles per unit area per unit time. Number of particles per unit area per unit time. Therefore, if it is number of particles per unit area per unit time, then that means in an area of dA, the total number of particles scattered will be this times dA, and that dA is nothing but r square d omega. Therefore, there are various ways of writing this. Either I can write it as dN is equal to J scattered times dA, where dA is the differential area through which all these particles will pass, and that is equivalent to this point, that this is J scattered times r square d omega. And when you use this expression here, then the expression that you will get, try to get it. I will speak to you day after tomorrow that how much you are able to digest it. D sigma by d omega, this is equal to 1 over J incident dN by d omega, and that will be equal to K scattered upon K incident times F theta phi whole square. K scattered upon K incident times F theta phi whole square. And for elastic scattering, K incident is almost equal to K scattered. For elastic scattering, K incident is almost equal to K scattered. That means potential is weak. That is why not much change in K has taken place. Potential is weak, and that is why not much change has taken place, and we can write d sigma by d omega as then only the scattering amplitude is good. We can write d sigma by d omega as then only as equal to mod of F theta phi whole square. Therefore, this is the basic concept of differential scattering cross section, and once we have differential scattering cross section, we integrate over theta and phi to get the total scattering cross section. But the important point is how to obtain the expression for the scattering amplitude, and this we have to learn in this unit, where various methods have been given, like Born approximation or partial wave analysis or other things, Glauber model, which are the different methods to write the scattering amplitude. Okay, let us stop today, and tomorrow I won't take class, because you please go through it, try to understand the basic concept of scattering cross section, what are the inputs, and why differential scattering cross section should be equal to mod of amplitude square. Okay. Now, the other important point which I would like to make is that, see, these are very difficult times. It is very difficult for the students to attend the class. As I personally, I myself feel that if you have such type of problem, then it is really difficult to concentrate. Therefore, don't worry about this. Let this 2-3 months pass. If any one of you will have doubt, then I will take these quantum mechanics classes even in the next semester or even during the summer vacation. If you want to learn quantum mechanics, because the speed with which I am going, this part of cross section which I have dealt with in 3 lectures, this is basically, it is supposed that it should be done within half an hour. Actually, when the syllabus was made, it was assigned half a lecture, and I have taken 3 hours to explain what is cross section. Therefore, our pace is very slow. I don't know how much syllabus I would be able to cover, but I never bother about that, because it is important to have concept. To build concept is a difficult thing. If you have concept, you can then build higher physics concepts based on that. And therefore, I am going slow. I am talking about these things which are not giving in the books. But I won't worry about the last working day and all that. That is important for the examination point of view. And since this will be an online examination and I have to take it, I will ask the points which I have discussed in the class. But the points which will be left, it's not that I will skip those things. I will come back to that during summer vacation, so that in the next semester when you come back to the class, your concept of quantum mechanics should be clear. Okay, I will try my best to complete everything, each topic and a few advanced topics in quantum mechanics during summer vacation, because what I am realizing that at least 15 students, 12 students, they are missing in the classes. And if anybody would wish to have the class, for sure I will take the class. If you have any suggestion, you can just tell. I cannot increase my pace.